why do we keep trying to achieve the unachievable? Why do we keep trying to go down a path that can't succeed? It's puzzling to me. I get politics. I get you want to put a good face on things, but folks, there comes a point to where when you try to put a good face on things in blatant evidence that what you're trying to achieve isn't working and you're getting more people killed, then it's not politics, because now it's counterproductive for you, even on the political level, even on the messaging level, because you can't keep saying things that are more and more evidently untrue. I showed you at the top of the show here that statement or the images from the parade. You know, when you're talking about just visuals and what messages resonate with people around the world, when you see that kind of power rolling down the street, and it was quite a spectacle. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch a whole lot, but enough to see that those are some powerful images when you juxtapose them from the Ukraine side. I mean, they have no parade. They have no victory of any kind, no evidences of strength. Only Zelensky keep on saying things like he wants Mickey Mouse ears to pop out of his head. That's how it's being viewed. And if you're trying to have this political situation or messaging to try and sway people to think things, it doesn't work when the physical evidence so overwhelmingly shows the opposite to be true, because now then the opposite also works against you, that you're viewed with less and less credibility and weaker and weaker. And President Trump doesn't like to be seen as weak. And if he doesn't, then he needs to change course pretty quickly. So that comment there by J.D. Vance that, you know, yeah, we're ready to walk. I mean, he should already have done it, but there's no time like the present. I'm saying within the next week, before 1 week, before next Friday, the best thing he can do is to say, okay, we came to in fact, even the better one, the Sunday talk shows. Perfect opportunity for that, because everybody's watching for that. That's where President Trump should send out, whether it's J.D. Vance again, Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, whoever, needs to get up and say, all right, President has finally come to a conclusion. We tried everything. It didn't work. Now it's up to the Europeans and the Ukrainians and the Russians. If they want to keep fighting, more power to them. I think it's a bad idea. We're not going to underwrite failure anymore. We are not going to send any more American money, American weapons, American ammunition, and put the American prestige and name and reputation on the line for something that is going to lose. We're not going to do that, and we're going to move forward. That'll make all the supporters unhappy, and they'll yell and scream and whatever. That's up to them. They can do that. But history will show that is the right course of action, because the alternative, to keep the fiction going on, you'll still suffer all of those things I just mentioned, all the crying and everything else, and they will lose as well. So it'll be a double loss. So you're going to take a hit one way or the other. Take one hit and then be seen as in the right position later on, as opposed to taking a double negative hit, because that is where we are. Now, before I let you go today, I want to show you one other thing that it's kind of embarrassing for our side. In the days leading up to this, you may recall I mentioned that Germany and a couple of others in the Western European celebrated World War II Victory Day yesterday on the 8th. And Germany in particular said Russia and Belarus were disinvited. They couldn't even send diplomatic personnel. We were keeping them off. We didn't talk about any of that kind of thing here. Even today with this victory, I looked through the Washington Post, the New York Times this morning, a couple of other Western European publications. You had to scroll way, way down to find anything at all. And it was kind of a small issue here, and it had a kind of a neutral headline, whereas, of course, Russia is somewhat different. Well, Russia did invite everybody who was a member of the World War II coalition that beat Nazi Germany. They invited them. 3 European heads of state went. I think Serbia, Fico from Slovakia, and Orban from Hungary. I believe those are the 3 that were there. But in the speech, too, President Putin lauded his people who were fighting there, but then he also lauded, without a caveat, he lauded the others in the West who were part of this. I would love to see something like this on the American side, where you can even be opposed to somebody, you can be having a proxy war against them, but you still recognize something that happened in the past that was a jointly benefit for the two sides. Unfortunately, so far, it's only on the Russian side.
Мы чтим каждого ветерана Великой Отечественной войны. Склоняем головы перед памятью всех, кто отдал свою жизнь за победу. Перед памятью сыновей, дочерей, отцов, матерей, дедов, прадедов, мужей, жен, братьев, сестер, родных, друзей. Склоняем головы перед нашими боевыми товарищами, погибшими смертью храбрых в праведном бою за Россию. Объявляется минута молчания. Дорогие друзья, в огненную орбиту Второй мировой войны было вовлечено почти 80% населения планеты. Полный разгром нацистской Германии, милитаристской Японии, их сателлитов в разных регионах мира свершился общими усилиями стран Объединенных Наций. Мы всегда будем помнить, что открытие Второго фронта в Европе после решающих битв на территории Советского Союза приблизило победу. Высоко ценим вклад в нашу общую борьбу солдат союзнических армий, участников сопротивления, мужественного народа Китая, всех, кто сражался во имя мирного будущего.
He highly values the efforts of the Allied armies. He specifically mentions the D-Day landings in Normandy as being instrumental in bringing it to an end. He didn't put any asterisk on it, didn't put any caveats on it. He just said, we value all that. We value our people. We value the others who fought alongside of us because it was a one big victory for the civilized world. That should be something that we want to hearken back to. Look, if you don't want to like Russia, you don't have to like Russia. If you want to hate Russia, that's your prerogative. Individuals can do that. But if you want a world that is better than the one that we have right now, and you don't want one that is careening towards a potential eventual clash between the East and the West, then we need to come back to a position to where we're saying, what is true, what is real, where can we go from here? We need to understand that Russia is not bent on conquesting all of Europe. They don't even appear to be bent on conquering all of Ukraine. They don't even want all of Ukraine. They don't want anything west of the Dnieper. They would settle, and they have put on the table an offer only to take the 4 territories they have already bought with the considerable blood on their side. And again, you can even hate that, but that's the reality, folks. And if you keep pushing for non-reality, like we're not even going to give that up and we're going to get that back at some point, then all you're doing is saying we want more war, we want more conflict. Even if this one comes to some kind of a negotiated end at some point pretty soon, if we keep that mentality, if we keep building up like the Western Europe is saying they're going to and want to be ready for a clash with Russia by 2030, we may get that war. So it's not just about where we're at right now. We have to end this now while there's still time to have a good future for everyone. Now, I'm not some pie in the sky guy myself and just saying trust everything Putin says. Don't trust anything he says. I don't trust anything anybody says for the defense of our country. I want to preserve and to have the capacity to defend ourselves with our own resources. That's what I think is every country should do, to include Russia, to include Germany, to include the Baltics, whatever you have to do. The rest of NATO, once this war is over, if you want to keep building up your militaries for self-defense and to prevent any kind of a Russian attack, there's good ways to do that. There's ways to do it that would deter a Russian attack that would not provoke an offensive in retaliation. There is no evidence that Russia just wants to conquer anything. As many people we've had on our show have said, what is the value to Russia? That Putin, unlike Hitler in the 1930s, does not have territorial ambitions. He does not want breathing room, any of that kind of stuff. He doesn't need any national resources. He's got them all. He wants to do business with everybody because he has the resources. He has resources he wants to sell, which the West needs, in cheap and abundant energy resources. Fertilizers, food products, all kinds of stuff. There is so much opportunity for mutual benefit. All we've got to do is recognize reality, grit your teeth to the part you don't like right now. But if you want a better future for yourself, for your country, and the Europe writ large, then we're going to have to just stop this blind fiction that we've created for ourselves, that we want this outcome that is not attainable and is not possible, and instead go after the one that is possible, that is attainable at a cost-effective pace that can have us given peace and security and prosperity into the indefinite future. All that is on the table for possible right now, if and only if we get some kind of decent leadership. That, folks, is where it's all at. That's before us. That's the choice that we have. You can either choose a positive future without wiping away the realities of the Russian side. That's all on the table simultaneously. This future is possible. This future is also possible. And if you want to ignore the realities and keep going with the fiction, you will find that you get the worst outcome that's even possible, the one that you fear the most. Let's don't do that. On this day where both sides are supposed to be celebrating the victory over Nazism and the horrific 60 million people that were killed in World War II, let's make sure we don't get to the next one to where the death toll would almost certainly be higher and catastrophic for all of humanity. Let's don't go there, folks. We don't have to. This good future over here is attainable, and it's in our capacity to have. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Daniel Dana's Deep Dive. Signing off from Brown University, and we'll see you next time.